Hey everyone, it's Miss Storms in my office. We are going to read more of The Boy at the Back of the Class. We're starting on page 156. And this is when the gang is coming up with their plan to try and help Ahmet get back with his parents. And we've heard a couple of the plans. Now we are about to hear Michael's. Then Michael told us his plan. We should write to the high court, to the judge sitting in the highest chair in the land, and ask them to order all the security guards to open the gates when they see Ahmet's mom and dad. He whispered, "It's called an appeal too. I heard my mom talking about them because her law firm are always doing them for people. I asked her to help Ahmet, but she's always complaining about how much work she has to do, and she charges hundreds of pounds per hour." "But we can't afford that," cried out Tom. "I know," replied Michael, rolling his eyes, "which is why I'm saying we should do the appeal ourselves." "Is it an appeal like my newspaper one?" asked Josie. "Sort of, except it's for a judge. All we need to do is find out who the highest judge in the land is and write to them," replied Michael. "We could even send them your appeal," he said, giving Josie a nudge on the arm. "We'd only need to change it a little bit. Mom's always saying that judges have nothing better to do than read appeals all the time." We were all excited about his idea the most, and as no one could think of anything that might go wrong with it, we decided to go to the school library and at home time and find out the name of the highest judge in the land. So when the last bell rang, we told Ahmet that we had to get home quickly so he wouldn't follow us and headed straight there. Our school library isn't as big as the one Mom works in, but it has larger windows and lots more sunlight, which means you can see the books better. Mrs. Finicky is our librarian. She always wears bright colored clothes and bright red lipstick, and you don't ever have to look for her because she's always standing behind the library counter. I like Mrs. Finicky because she always gets excited when you ask her anything. She tells people off for not looking after their books properly, just like Mom. She has a large sign on the counter that says, "Books are like people. Look past their covers and they'll take you on a great adventure." I like it because it's fun to imagine people as books and guess what adventure they might take you on. When we get to the library counter, we all looked up at Mrs. Finicky. She was wearing a sky blue top and a sky blue skirt. And Mrs. Finicky smiled and looked down at all of us and said, "Hello, how can I help you all today?" Tom and Josie and me all looked over at Michael and waited. So he asked, "Miss, do you know where we can find out who the highest judge in the land is? We need to find out for homework." "Really?" said Mrs. Finicky, frowning. We all nodded. Mrs. Finicky scratched her chin. "I think we'll have to look online for that," she said, and she started typing into her computer. We nodded and waited excitedly for an answer as Mrs. Finicky narrowed her eyes and looked at the screen. After a few seconds, she said, "Here we go. Right. Was it the name of the Lord Chief Justice you were after, or the High Court Judge for the Family Division?" We all looked at each other, and then Michael said, "Family Division, please." Mrs. Finicky wrote the name out on a piece of paper. When she gave it to Michael, we all looked over her shoulder and it read, "H.C. Family Division, Dame Leslie Williamson." "Anything else?" asked Mrs. Finicky. Josie said, "Does it have her address there, miss?" Mrs. Finicky frowned again. "Her address?" she asked. You have to send her a letter as part of your homework?" We all nodded. "So that it gets to her by tomorrow," I added. "It's the High Court of Justice you'll be needing to write to," said Mrs. Finicky, narrowing her eyes at the computer screen again as she copied it down. "But even if you post it today and it gets to her office tomorrow or on Saturday, remember that the courts are closed over the weekend, and it won't be the judge who gets your envelope. She'll have a secretary to open her mail for her." She handed the slip of paper with the address to Josie. "Anything else?" She looked at our downcast faces. "I'm sure she'll read your letter eventually," she added gently. "It might just take a while." We left and gathered in the hallway outside. "What are we going to do now?" asked Josie. Her face was all pink, which is what happens when she's really upset. "Even if we send the judge the appeal right away, the gates will be shut before she even gets it. It's already Thursday, and after this week is over, we only have 5 more days." We all looked at Michael, who shrugged and looked at the floor. "You've got to think of another idea," said Tom urgently. We all nodded, but I felt sick inside. I was scared that Ahmet's family wouldn't be found in time. We were all silent on the bus ride home that afternoon. Everyone was thinking hard, and I could tell from our faces that none of us had come up with anything. I felt the worst, because at least everyone else had thought of something. I hadn't come up with a single plan. Now I know it's because my brain wasn't really ready to think of anything then. It wouldn't be ready until the weekend, but when it was, it came up with a plan so fantastic that nobody could say no to it, not even a judge sitting in the highest chair in the land. That was the rest of chapter 14. Chapter 15 next time. Bye.